Why do Israel and Iran hate each other? Welcome to Foreign Policy with Dan, where we talk about all kinds of global issues and how they impact us in the United States. The events of today and late last night are a result of a decades-long tension between Israel and Iran, and it's really important to understand the full context of that relationship between these two countries when you talk about an attack like Israel's on Iran. If you're just catching up, the short of it is that Israel launched a number of attacks last night and early this morning on Iranian nuclear infrastructure. They targeted high-level military officials, they targeted nuclear sites specifically, and they also targeted Iranian nuclear scientists. But why? Why are Israel and Iran always in this kind of back and forth and war between the two of them and with their proxies in the region? Let's talk about it. So before 1979, Israel and Iran actually were diplomatically engaged, and they even cooperated militarily from time to time when Iran was underneath the Shah regime, which at the time was backed by the United States. Then in 1979, you have the Islamic Revolution and the establishment of the Islamic Republic as the power and the government in Iran. You also have the creation of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in 1979, which is a branch of their military that over time has grown massive, but its sole goal is to ensure the survival of the Islamic Republic. So starting in 79 and beyond, you have the kind of immediate ideological shift in the country and the move towards Islam, which automatically kind of just creates this tension and rift between Israel and Iran. And Iran sees Israel as, a threat and illegitimate, and vice versa. And over the following decades, you have a number of events and situations that happen that just kind of continue to raise the tension between the two countries. You have some assassinations that happen, some attacks. You have Iran trying to establish themselves as a nuclear authority, a couple times. There's really just a lot of back and forth, and that tension is just always there between the two countries. And one of the most important things to note is that Iran is kind of the money and the power behind two of Israel's biggest enemies and two of the largest kind of terror groups in the Middle East: Hezbollah out of Lebanon and Hamas out of Gaza. So you have Iran, who is backing these terror groups and basically funding and supporting all of the attacks that happen on Israel from those two organizations over the decades, and Israel, responding and trying to kind of do the same to Iran. And then in the last 10, 15 years or so, you have a couple of really big things. The first is the Abraham Accords, which were a number of agreements that Israel formed between Arab states who were establishing diplomatic relations with Israel. That was a threat to Iran and their kind of regional superiority, because now you had some of their neighbors and even some of Iran's allies that were more willing to talk and negotiate and work with Israel instead of just being straight up enemies. And really today, where we're at is a result of what happened on October 7th, a couple years ago, where Hamas came into Israel and attacked and killed about 1,200 Israeli citizens. Israel then responded and has massacred thousands and thousands of people in Gaza and in the West Bank. Israel also launched the attack on Hezbollah in Lebanon, if you remember the beeper attack. And then now you have this, where Israel is again hitting back at Iran and their nuclear capabilities. On the flip side, you also have Iran, who has launched missiles and drones over the subsequent years that have tried to damage and hurt Israel as well. And so it's this really complex and complicated relationship when you look at the two countries, their proxies, the West that kind of generally supports Israel, and having a more Western aligned country in the region. You have a lot of the regional, countries that are backing Iran. You have China and Russia that have historically, been in a lot more conversations with Iran and have backed Iran in some situations. And so it's really this kind of powder keg and this hot box of chaos where there's a lot going on. And there are a lot of complexities as a result of the geopolitical situation. So if anybody tries to just say this is a very simple thing, one guy's good, one guy's bad, or whatever, it's a lot more complicated than that. And there's a lot more going on that a lot of people aren't really aware of and don't really understand how it factors into the larger geopolitical conversation surrounding Israel and all of its neighboring countries. What does it mean for us in the immediate? I think we'll see the Western countries try to toe the line between supporting Israel but not provoking further and larger escalations from Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, etc. I think we'll also see an increase in tensions in some of the Western countries between immigrant populations. You'll have some of the diaspora from some Middle East countries. You're going to see a lot of kind of increased racial tensions and religious tensions, I think, which is unfortunate but understandable. If you're interested in more content like this and doing some deeper dives on certain topics around the world, make a comment on something that you want me to dive deep on and talk about, and I'm glad to make a video. Thanks.